Hey CSF people, this is Blake. I want to take a minute just to talk to you about CSF's vision for discipleship this year. So as a staff, as we were thinking and praying and looking at kind of the grand narrative of Scripture, there's this one word, this small word that we use every day in our conversations. It doesn't mean much to us, but in Scripture it kept popping out to us as really important. This is one word, the word with. We see in the beginning, in Genesis, God creating His people, and He's with Adam and Eve. And then we see that withness, that personal relationship that was in perfect harmony. We see it broken and torn and distorted. And then from there, we see this story of a God who's longing to be with His people. And we get all the way to the Gospels, and you see Jesus come onto the scene, and He has this name, this one name, Emmanuel, which means God with us. And you continue on in the story all the way to Revelation, which is the consummation of all human history, and God is united with His people. This word with just pops up all the way throughout Scripture. And so it just inspired us to think about what would it look like for CSF, students who are involved in discipleship, what would it look like for us to live life with God? Not necessarily just a life that's about God, or about CSF, or not even learning all this stuff about Scripture, or not even necessarily doing things for God. It's like God's longing and asking this question to humanity, saying, I'm with you, will you be with me?
So part of this with God, with people life is that it's got to have some rhythm to it. We want to invite you into healthy rhythms. And I'm a musician, so I like to think about it like music, but if you just have music without rhythm, you've got these like aimless drones, they're not really going anywhere. And so when you add rhythm to it, you've got some movement, you've got some emphasis, some energy, you're actually going in a direction when you add rhythm to music. And so we want to add motion and direction and purpose into our lives and how we live following Jesus. And so the rhythms that we want to invite you into as a member of like discipleship is community and service and Scripture. And so how do we do community at CSF? Well, there's two really big ones. There's M Group and there's Synergy. And we just really think that we grow the most in community. We get to know other people and the goodness of other people. We get to know ourselves and the ways that we are called to grow. And we really just are sharpened by each other. Scripture even says that. And then the second one is service. I mean, you just, for so many generations, Christians have said, it's better to give than just receive. And so we really think giving in service is just a really powerful way to actually receive from God. And we want to invite you in your service roles to give out of your following Jesus. Then the final rhythm is Scripture, curriculum. We really are excited about curriculum this semester. It's going to be kind of 10 really good entry points into the story of God that you find in Scripture. And what you'll see is that, man, we picked 10 really great passages, but you got probably 10 times that amount of great passages that actually invite you into the story of God. And you realize, man, life with God is what we long for. Life with God is what we were made for. And we can begin to learn that and get that into our bones through reading Scripture and studying it together. And so we think those three rhythms, community, service, and Scripture, in the curriculum that we've written for this semester are really powerful ways to have healthy rhythms of our life with God, life with people here at CSF.
And so you've heard Blake talk about being with God and with people as this vision for the entire year of what we're doing and breathing and praying into at CSF. And one of those particular parts of that, we've heard about being with God and walking with God in your in-groups and things like that. But one of the most unique and tangible ways is coming up with Kickoff Week. And so it's a unique opportunity to be with people. We're having obviously all these events. And this is just such a unique moment to follow in the walk and the way of Jesus, of being with people. All through Scriptures, you see Jesus interacting and having conversations with people. And I think at CSF, we get such a unique opportunity to do that in the next week and a half. And one way is just by remembering people's names. And we say it all the time around here, but it really is so impactful to say, hey, you're important and valuable enough that I remember who you are. I remember your face. I remember something about you. It says that you're worth being known. You're valuable, and we want you to be a part of what God's doing here at CSF. And that's just life-changing for people. I can remember myself, someone recognizing me on campus or somewhere, and I was like, wow, they took time to notice who I was, and they want me to be a part of this, and that's such a huge thing for people. The second thing is asking a question. And so there's this story in Scripture, you see Jesus is walking through, there's hundreds of people around, everyone's wanting his attention, and there's this guy named Bartimaeus by the road. He's sick, he's blind, and he can't get Jesus' attention. What I love is you can feel Jesus just senses Bartimaeus, and he says to bring him to him. And what I just absolutely love about this moment is Jesus stops, he looks at Bartimaeus, and he says, "What do you want me to do for you?" And I just love that the conversation starts with a question. In my life, it looked like my first K-Week. I came to a random event. I was at a water balloon filling party, and someone's like, "Hey, what's your favorite music taste?" And I, of course, replied Mumford & Sons at the time. And my favorite music taste became, "Have you been to Shifts?" Which became, "Have you been to Synergy? Are you in a shift group? Are you in an M group? Are you involved at CSF? Have you thought about coming on staff?" And then here I am 6 years later following Jesus because someone asked me what my favorite artist was. What we're doing at K-Week is we're inviting freshmen into hope. And one of my friends has this awesome definition of hope. He says, hope is the confident expectation that something good is coming. And I just love that. And I think as we follow in the way of Jesus, we say that we go from glory to glory, from goodness to goodness, and we're walking into that. And so as we invite freshmen into, we're saying, if you get involved with CSF, if you come here, if you belong here, if you come to a shift group, that I'm certain that good will come to you, that you'll be transformed, you'll walk into life, you'll be healed, you'll grow community, you'll have friends, and it is that confident knowing that good is coming for them. And so I think as people part of this community, we're able to offer and set the table for that each time we grab a burger, pour a drink, have a conversation, ask a question, and remember their name.
So what does it look like to have a successful kickoff week? We have so many events that we're doing, big and small. We have over 20 events, but we need your help. So before you're coming to events with people, we need you to be with God. And so having daily quiet times and actually having time with the Lord will be so beneficial as you come and talk with new freshmen and you come and talk with new students. And so as you're signing up for these events, make sure your yes is a yes and that you come. So thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of Kickoff Week, and we couldn't do this without you.
So excited for this year, the fresh vision that God has given us for so many really cool things for this school year. Kickoff Week is here. It is such a crucial time over these next few days to just invite people into this huge life with God. Jesus talks about the kingdom of heaven is like this party. Kickoff Week is the front door to the party, the front door to heaven, and we want to invite people in. When I think about Kickoff Week, I cannot help but think about Laura Callan. She was a student here a few years ago, and I remember talking to her sophomore year at the luau party, and she had this kind of odd look on her face, and I said, "Laura, what are you thinking about?" And she said, "I'm looking out on that dance floor and I'm wondering who is me? Which one of those people out there is like me? Because last year I just came because it was dancing and free food, and now God's got a hold of my life and totally taken over my life. And now a decade later, she's in ministry out in California, just loving God, loving people. And we want to invite people in this huge life, not just a life of party in a shallow sense, but this life of depth, because we want to show students they are more than just Instagram users. They're more than just people with a student ID number. And they are people with soul. There is life, a deep life to be found with God and with others in this community, and we want them to find it here at CSF and what God is doing in people and through people here. It is the fall 2018. Let's go.